Welcome everyone to another episode of Fabulous After 50. And basically, whether we want to or not, at some point we do reach what is called midlife. It's basically inevitable. So, what if these years, instead of being focused on fear and loss and frustration, were an invitation to reclaim your identity, your energy, and your voice? And this is the empowering topic which was chosen by Georgie Smith, who's midlife coach and menopause practitioner. Imagine choosing to make this your profession, and whose mission it is to help women who feel lost, burnt out, or unsure of who they are reconnect with their energy, their confidence, and their purpose. And for all those of you who've been following me for a while can imagine why I was absolutely delighted to have Georgie with us here today. So welcome, Georgie. Can you maybe start a little bit by positioning who are you, where are you, and why you do what you do?
Thank you, Julie, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So obviously, yes, I'm Georgie Smith, and I'm a, as you say, midlife coach and a menopause practitioner. I came to this work through reaching my own midlife point and my own perimenopause and taking a hard look at my own life. Now, I haven't necessarily had a very easy life. Most of my life, I haven't known who I am. I think, in all honesty, I've never really done that work to find out and know what I want and who I am. I had an awful car accident when I was a teenager, those formative years, which put me in hospital for quite a long time, and then straight headlong into just any work that I could once I was able to get back out into work. I just sort of fell into a career. I thought the thing that I was supposed to do was get married and have children. So I did that. Obviously, they're a delight, but that was what I was supposed to do. That's the path that I was put on. I had a bit of a self-implosion, self-combustion in my 30s and divorced and then remarried. And then COVID hit. And that was a really strange time, wasn't it? But it was through that I was sitting there at my desk and thinking everyone must feel the same, but also at the same time thinking, why is everyone else managing and I'm not? Right. And I just wanted to get off the roller coaster, off the hamster wheel. It's just somebody just let me get off of all of this. I was feeling very anxious, very ragey, very cross. And it was through work, actually. They set up a menopause women's group, and it dawned on me that I was perimenopausal. Right. And it was I was able to take stock of life a little bit. I had some coaching myself, and over the years I'd had therapy, and it had never quite worked out for me. I'm not saying it's not right for anyone.
Yeah.
It hadn't worked, and coaching really did work. And I really started to dig into things I'd never thought about in my whole life before. What I valued, what my limiting beliefs were. I thought I was useless. I just thought I was broken. I was the problem, because that's what I've been told from really early age, that was me. So I always internalized it. I always thought it was me. But through doing that work with a coach, I was able to see it wasn't me who was broken. Probably some other people who were around me when I was younger were. And I realized that there was so much more in me, that my work that I wasn't enjoying wasn't because I was bad at it or that I was losing it, because work was what I was known for. And obviously, as your confidence dips and perimenopause, brain fog comes along, I wasn't so good at what I was known to be doing, and my confidence took a real hit. But I realized a lot of that was because I didn't actually value the work that I was doing. It wasn't right for me. It wasn't giving me energy. I didn't believe in it. And so I decided to take a hard look at what I wanted to do. And I realized actually what I wanted to do, because as a young child, I'd always wanted to be in a caring profession. And so I wanted to come back to that. I'd wanted to be a nurse and I'd wanted to be a midwife. And I thought, I'm going to come back to that. I couldn't actually become a nurse because of the car accident that I'd had. I'm not physically able to. I thought, what else can I do? I want to be the coach that I needed. I want to be the coach that can help women find who they want to be. And so I created this business called I Am Georgie Smith, because for the first time in such a long time, well, forever, I think, I felt confident in saying my name, because I'd always hidden away from my name because I didn't like me. And I felt confident in who I was. I felt confident in my name, and I was able to stand up and say, I am Georgie Smith. I am proud of me. And I am a kind, good person. And this is what I want for everyone else. So the business is called I Am Georgie Smith because this is what I want for women, to not hide away from who they're becoming, to not think that they shouldn't take up space anymore, to not think that they're broken. I want women to know that they're none of those things, and that they can be proud of themselves, and they can have the future that excites them, whatever that looks like for them. And so that's why I became a coach.
Wow. What an amazing statement. And I mean, just hearing you say it, it really is, it's owning all of who we are, isn't it? Which is something that I always talk about as well. It's saying I'm proud of who I am. And that doesn't mean like in a maybe more male world being arrogant or thinking that you're God's gift to the earth. Oh, absolutely not. But it's just so many women will relate to exactly everything that you said. I mean, I could really feel myself going like, yes, 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 you know, even if I haven't had a horrible accident like you have, but we've all had something, we've all had,
Experiences.
you
Yeah.
know, that feeling that we're always there for other people, that we're not quite sure, well, you know, yeah, I'm here for my children and for my job and for this, but you know, who am I under all of that? And what makes me happy? We always put other people first. And I think if you're over 50 now, we are that generation of women who were still brought up to be a little bit on the sidelines and dedicated to other people and not overcomplicating what life had to mean to us and our mission and all of that. But at the end of the day, we have a right to contribute and we have a right to love ourselves and not constantly put ourselves down about 8 million things. So it's all about your I am Georgie Smith is really when I sort of say, this is my new little tagline, own your shit and shine.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it really is that. It means embrace all of who you are. I am Julie Kennedy, with the things that I regret, with the things that I learned from, with the falls and the standing up, with the smiling again. Those are the things we need to be proud of. And if there's anything which really makes my heart glow, I would say, are these stories of people who've taken the bad and made something good out of it. You know, I always say I'm a Buddhist. Our theory is you take poison and you turn it into medicine. And you hear so many powerful people who've done exactly that. You said, you asked yourself that vital question. Okay, I know I wanted to do something with caring, etc. And I want to be the person that can guide people who are in that position of feeling lost that I was in, where you're not quite sure what you're here for. And it is, we are saying midlife, right? Not end of life. You know, we're talking about really looking at, well, you know, where are we now? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What sort of shit, excuse the language, can we get rid of? And looking into, well, who is that? You know, I heard you talk about values. I heard you talking about mission. What is it? What makes you happy to get out of bed? It really, really makes me happy that it even exists a menopause coach, right?
Well, exactly. And the fact that we're talking about menopause, perimenopause more is marvelous. The thing is, there are so many people talking about it, and there's so many different ways that we're told to do things, so much advice out there, so many opinions out
That's
there,
true.
that it can be really confusing. And just to have somebody by your side to try different things, because what works for me won't necessarily work for you, won't work for somebody else, but to have somebody by your side to try things with you, just to hold your hand at a time when you're feeling probably fairly unconfident, not sure what to do, not sure what's the right thing, because that person said that's an awful thing to do, that person said that's the thing that you should be doing. To try these things together and see what works is just really empowering, to have that hand holding, but also that bit of a push, for want of a nicer way of
Yes,
saying it,
yes.
because it's very easy to stay in the rut.
Yeah,
I mean this in the nicest possible way, but and because I did this for years, being a victim where life was happening to me,
right.
not for me. And it was only through my coach and having that mindset change of, okay, so these things have happened.
Yeah,
What are we going to do now to move forward and go on,
right.
rather than just talking and talking? But yeah, but I had an awful car accident. You know, life was horrible for me. I couldn't do the dream job that I wanted to do. And that's what would go over in my mind the whole time. And it's very easy to keep yourself in that mindset. And the same with the perimenopausal symptoms. I've just got brain fog. I can't do anything, so I'm not going to bother doing anything. Well, try and
Yeah,
having someone to find a way with you, that hope, because hope is the thing that you can just sort of, there's a glimmer of light there, isn't there? There is possibility for a brighter future. I can see the glimpse there through the door, and having someone to help you get there is just really, really.
yeah. And as you say, it's scary. I mean, because the good side of having all of that baggage is that we do often start to get to a bit of an idea of who we are, but then also things that we've set up, like, our nutrition or our exercise, somehow the stuff which has always worked isn't working anymore. We're forgetting stuff, and that is a good point. What you also said is that now that the term does exist, there's an awful lot out there. But I think that's also the value, if I may, of programs like mine, where people can also get to have an idea of, okay, she is a menopause coach, but maybe so is Sarah and Marianne and whatsoever. But I like this one. I like what she's saying. I can relate to what she's saying. I like the strategy or the procedure that she uses. So if I understand well, so people come in a one-to-one or in groups to you when they're feeling, what sort of things do people come to you with?
We always start with the symptoms. We always start with the symptoms that we're feeling. And obviously they'll come to me with being lost is a big one. Obviously there's the typical brain fog ones, unconfident, but I can guarantee pretty much within 1 or 2 sessions, we might have talked about the symptoms, with 1 or 2 sessions, it becomes about they've never really known who they are. It's, yeah, I miss the old me. And
Yes.
it's working through the fact that we've evolved from the old me. We're always evolving, aren't we? And it's grieving the old them, letting that time, for grief and overcoming that. But actually then let's get excited about who the new you is. And actually it's the same you underneath all of it. Of course it is, but it's being excited about what life means for you now, rather than just staying in that grief of, I miss the old me who could do all of these things. So it always comes to knowing who we are and our identity. And I think that's what perimenopause does quite a lot of. It knocks us down a little bit. And that's the fabulous thing in many ways, isn't it? Because we get to rebuild. We get to rebuild that.
And we stop and we look, instead of all
Yeah.
the running behind whatever it is we're running, whether it's children or career or a mix of both, or looking after other people, etc., that we actually get to stop and create that space to say, well, who am I under all the things that I've been doing for so many times, so many years? I like what you've just said about that. And okay, maybe before we move forward, just for those who haven't listened to too many on menopause, perimenopause, define the difference.
So perimenopause, well, menopause is an umbrella term in itself, but perimenopause is the years where your reproductive years are ending. The hormones are declining, but they're changing. They're up and down, obviously. They're not at the same levels that they were. And so perimenopause, you might notice things like your periods might change. They might get heavier, they might get lighter, but if you're not noticing that, that doesn't mean you're not in perimenopause. There's the brain fog, your joints might ache. You're getting all of those type of symptoms that you've probably heard a lot of. You might be getting something you've never heard of, because we've got hormone receptors throughout our body. So there's a lot of parts of your body that could be affected. So perimenopause is those years leading up to the menopause. It could be 10, maybe even 15 years. Now, the average age in the UK, I don't know for the rest of the world, I apologise, but the average age for perimenopause is 46, but that is an average. And if you're in your 30s and you're experiencing different symptoms, you shouldn't be dismissed just because of your age. Those are just averages. So the perimenopause, you're leading up to the menopause. Menopause is actually one day of your life. It's the 12 months after your last period has finished. So you've not had a period for 12 months. That day is called menopause. After that, you're postmenopausal.
Right.
Now, obviously, the hormones aren't coming back, so you might still experience symptoms in that period as well. And we still go through cycles of sorts, even if it's energy cycles then. So there's still things happening in our body. You still might get the hot flushes and things. Just because you've got to postmenopause, unfortunately, doesn't mean those symptoms have necessarily ended. There's still different ways you can treat those, whether it's through medication or whether it's through lifestyle choices that you make. So yeah, that's the difference. Menopause is an umbrella term. You've got perimenopause,
which is the longest period then, because menopause is technically just one day.
One day, yes. Well, and then postmenopause, which is the rest of your life, depending how long that is. And the average age, again, this is for the UK, for menopause itself is 51.
Okay.
But there's still quite many years after that where you could be postmenopausal.
Yeah.
Or we need to be sort of taking care of our body through all of that as well.
Okay, so how do you technically help? The title of our talk today was about really reclaiming identity, energy, and voice. It's the who am I?
Yes.
The energy, is that sort of more like the life spirit, or the fact that, I mean, I'm full of energy, but I have an awful lot less energy than I did have even 10 years ago. That I have to choose where I put that energy now rather than just boundless energy. Is
No.
that what you mean?
Yes, energy, physical energy and mental energy, because a lot of
Oh,
women will
yeah.
come to me, and this is one of the problems that they come to me with. I am just exhausted
Yeah.
because not only physically because of perimenopausal symptoms, not only physically because they're getting older, but also because they are giving to so many people. Their life is full of things that drain their energies, things that they feel they've got to do, and they've got no capacity left. So it's about finding that. It's about balancing life where we're doing lots of things that give us energy, as well as there's always going to be things that we do that drain our energies a little bit. That's life, isn't it? But it's about
Yeah.
having that balance. So that's what I mean by energy, finding your energy.
And I guess that's very closely linked to your identity, right? Because if you don't yet
Precisely.
know what gives you energy, you can say, I'm going to do this and that. But if it's
Yeah.
not what really works for you personally, and that's also the huge advantage, I would say, of a coach as well, is that it is for each person different. There's no, okay, let's download the protocol for women in perimenopause. It is different for each person. So it's having someone who, as I heard you say before, I think you said, but take by the hand lovingly, does also push you, you know? Yes,
Well,
there is a way, you know, what would you do? What did you used to feel
yes.
like doing? Or
Well, and that's something that I'd work with the women do. I do work with women doing is, what did you used to do that gave you
yes,
energy? And maybe those things don't work for us anymore, but it's a great start to find what sort of
yes,
things really light you up. Then that's what we want. We want to light you up again. And absolutely, it'll be different for everybody. I've got friends who get their energy from going out socializing, and they go from one party to the next party, and that's how they
yeah.
fill their batteries up. For me, absolutely not. That sounds exhausting, even just thinking about it. And it's also acknowledging that rest doesn't have to be, I mean, as much as I love this, just lay down sleeping. I mean, I love a nap, all of those things. It doesn't have to just be about that. It's trying new things as well, because we're resting one part of our brain and using a different part, and that's also rest. So it's having somebody to hold yourself accountable to
Yeah.
try different things, to give different things a go, to see what works for you now. Perhaps going back to the things that you did love and think, actually, do you know what, that doesn't work for me anymore. But someone who says, do you know what, go try all the things. Don't ever have to do them again if you don't like them. That's fine.
Yeah.
But let's see what lights you up and what brings the smile back to your face.
Yeah, like it light
Mm.
you up and smile.
Yes.
Because I think that is the risk, is that we things like menopause and perimenopause and all that with grayness, you know, gray skin, gray hair, and you know, you just already feel dark and dull. It's the twilight of your life. We're rubbish. You know, we might well have another 40 years. We're not in the twilight yet.
Well,
You know,
exactly this, and this is exactly the message that I want to get out there. Yes, perimenopause for some women can be debilitating. I'm not trying to negate any of that. I understand that entirely. But if we come into perimenopause years dreading it, if we come into it thinking that it's just this, it's soaked in fear. We're told all the things, you're losing your youth, you're going to get wrinkles, you're going to look old. We're just practically told to disappear. It's just,
yeah,
we're told it's the end. And if we go into it with that fear, that isn't going to help our symptoms for one. It's going
no,
to make us feel more exhausted. And I want women to understand, to know, to feel that actually it's the exact time that we can take our power. And yes, many women can feel guilty for taking time for themselves. So we'll start on baby steps. We might just say, have 10 minutes today for yourself, maybe 5 minutes if that, feels too much. Real baby steps so we can build up the confidence for even taking time for yourself. But to do these things and to realize now is our opportunity. The kids are growing up.
yeah.
We jobs are changing. We know we don't have to give our life to our work. I mean, unless we want to, unless that gives us our energy, but we don't have to give to everyone else all of the time anymore. And now is the time that we get to do some things that we want to do, and we make it however we want it to feel. It's an ideal chance to recalibrate and regather ourselves together about what we want for the rest of our life.
Love that. I think that is indeed the first thing. I think so. Lots of women's of 50 plus now, maybe we've gone to extremes the other way since. That's another discussion. But they really do not see, or they say, without feeling selfish. We're a
Mm.
bit like, oh, that's not what women do. Women care and nurture. And, even when your children have grown up, then you might throw yourself into volunteering work and taking out other people's dogs and all that. And this is all nice if that is your fire, if this is what lights you up. But for lots of people, it's just a feeling that it's bad to just, have a day where you think, oh, what would I like to do today?
We feel we
Maybe.
have to earn it, don't we? We feel we
Yes.
have to earn time
Yes.
off. We have to earn rest. We have to earn having a day out with our friends, all of these things. Have I done enough good for everybody else?
Yes.
So a lot of the work that I do is overcoming that guilt. And that adds to the exhaustion as well,
Of
though, you
course it
see.
does. The feeling you're not doing enough. I mean,
Yes.
I did that for years. So what you're saying is really ringing my bells big time because I have been blessed with a huge amount of energy. I've lived all over places. I know loads of languages. I know loads of stuff. I'm a learner, but I always feel guilty. Even now, like, oh, but goodness, you can be 58. You were supposed to be giving all of this back to the world. And where's your mission? Where's your whatsoever? And now I'm getting to the point thinking, well, maybe our mission in life is just to be happy. Because when we're happy, we make other people happy. And in that way, we contribute to us all feeling, that happiness. It doesn't maybe have to be one, earth shattering book or whatsoever that we're creating. We make it all very heavy. We make it all so strenuous and hard. Whereas I think women are supposed to be creatures of light and of inspiration, but not just for other people, also for us.
And that's how I often start with the women that I work with, because they can't come into this thinking, right, what can I do for me? If I can get them to think about, if you find ways to give yourself some energy, if you find ways to find joy in your life, think about all the things that you can now do with your family. And that's how we start
Yes.
off. Okay, so I'm doing this for my
Yes.
family, and that helps ease the guilt. And then they realize, actually, if they do these things for themselves, they do have 10 times the amount of energy and 10 times the amount of breathing space to be able to feed back into their family. And it's just
Yes.
a constant circle then of just loveliness. I can't think of the
Yes,
best.
we can't give from an empty cup, can we?
No, well, exactly that. I mean, the aeroplane analogy is used for a reason. It's used a lot, but it's used for a reason
I
because it's
agree.
exactly all of that.
That's a very good example because I even remember literally now the first time I took an airplane, it was to go to our first posting in Cameroon, and I had a 3-month-old baby. Or maybe it wasn't that. I can't even remember if they have masks for that small. But I remember anyway, it was the first time that I had a child with me and that thing about putting it on your mouth first. And I'd never given it 2 seconds thought, but I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do that. What if by the time I get to him, he's dead? But you're thinking like, yeah, okay, and then what if he's not dead? Then there's really nobody. It
Exactly.
is so true.
It really is. And just to allow women to think that they can give that to themselves is just the first step. But ultimately, what I want them to know is this is their time. A movement of women who are ready to make this chapter the best, the
Glorious,
most
right?
exciting, and what they want, whatever lights them up. And like we say, however that looks for them, because it's going to look, I want them to have their voice again, not to be afraid to speak up, not to be afraid to have opinions, because I think we get quieter and quieter,
And
don't
that's the voice part, right,
we?
of
Yes,
the three
exactly.
things. It's your
Yes,
own
yes,
voice.
yes. Yeah, and being confident. They're all intertwined. Our identity, our energy, and our voice. It's all intertwined and coming out, culminating in a confidence in who we are because we are happy with the choices we have made. They feel good. Because when we make choices that don't feel good to us, we don't. Well, I didn't realize it for years. My shoulders ached, backs hurt,
Yeah.
joints were hurting for different reasons. And some of that was perimenopausal, but a lot of it was because I was doing things that actually weren't in line with what I believed in. So
Yes.
my body holds on to it.
The
So
body doesn't lie, right?
exactly. And when we're talking about perimenopausal symptoms and how our body's feeling, it might not even be perimenopausal symptoms, but how our body's feeling, it's always telling us something. So the thing is getting women to listen to what their body's telling them, listen to what their mind's saying, and trust their gut. Because I know for me, certainly, all this is coming from my own viewpoint, but I'd learned never to trust myself. I'd
Yeah.
always get everyone else's opinions, and I live very much in my head, and I wouldn't trust my gut. So starting to listen to our gut and what our body's telling us is really key.
And there is so much wisdom there, right? When we do dare tap into
Yeah.
it. Okay, let's just summarize. I mean, some of them you said, the 3 tips that you would have for the listeners beyond getting yourself a menopause coach like you,
Well,
obviously.
beyond getting that support, and just having that support is just having someone to hold yourself accountable
Yeah.
to, so
Yeah.
these things.
Get you started and then you learn and you can get on the right path, right?
Exactly that. And yeah, just to have different ideas, bounce things around, because the coach doesn't have the answer. A coach is just helping you unravel the things in your head. My first thing I would say is start by listening to yourself again, like we've just said, even for 5 minutes, even over your cup of tea, if you can just take 5 minutes of a day to sit and have your cup of tea, relax your body a little bit, listen to what your mind's telling you, listen to the questions that are coming out, and trusting yourself. I think that's a great thing. That's quite mindful, and mindfulness, I can't underestimate the change it's had for me, just taking that time out. I would never have believed it. Just starting to come out of all the noise that's in your head, and being whole again. So that would
and that means not making lists of shopping you've got to do or chores you've got to do. It means just creating that space to just tune into, how am I feeling, sort of thing. Okay, that's a very good one.
How am I feeling today? Even just feeling the sensation of the cup in your hand, the drink going down your throat, all of those things. Yeah, just coming back to yourself a little bit. The next thing I would say is, don't rush to have all of the answers. It's okay to not know what the journey is going to look like, and that can feel really uncomfortable, because, well, certainly for someone like me who felt I was a control freak because I was scared of what might happen. There was fear. So just to know that it's okay not necessarily to have all the answers, that we're learning, and actually that's part of the fun of the journey.
That's so liberating, just hearing you say it, right? We don't need to have all the answers. They'll come, right? When we create that space and just relax, like our body will tell us stuff, everything. But when we're all in that state of fear and, pressure, it's got to be fast and you can't do something new until you know exactly what that is, then we would never do anything.
We never would. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because people often say, I'm not confident enough to do that yet. And well, the bad news is we're not going to be confident enough until we start doing things. Which is why we break it down into the tiny things that might be a little bit scary, but not so scary that we won't ever do them. Last year, my word of the year was trust. So this isn't the third tip, but it's part of the same one. It was trust, and trusting myself that when things, because life, there's no doubt about it. We can't be happy and joyous all of the time. Life will life, won't it? But trusting that whatever life does throw at us, we are capable. We are capable, confident women, and we can deal with whatever life throws at us. We will deal with it. We have throughout our life.
Of course we have. Otherwise we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be 50, right?
Exactly. Precisely that. So trust. So don't rush to have the answers. Trust that you can deal with it. Let's see what happens. So
that's so interesting you say that. Do you want to know mine? Of course, I could never have just one because I'm incapable of trusting. Mine is surrender and trust.
Interesting. Yeah, well, that's exactly that, isn't it? Don't rush to have the answers. Surrender to what's going to happen. Precisely that. Love it. And then asking bigger questions. So rather than, I don't know what to do next, what shall I do next, it's, but what do I actually want to do? Right. What's going to be, what have I outgrown, what doesn't work for me now? Let's dig a little bit deeper than what do I want, because that's such a huge wide question, isn't it? That's what's working, what used to work, what doesn't work anymore, what's exhausting me, what's giving me energy. Let's dig deep down into those questions and get really brave with them. And it can be scary, and I would recommend journaling was a great game changer for me as well. So if you haven't got a coach that you're working with, or even while you're working with a coach, but just having to journal down those questions, it's amazing the answers that come up while you're just writing all sorts of things down. And people would say to me, what should I write about? I don't often work with specific questions. I literally write as if I'm talking out loud what's saying in my head. It's amazing to see it out there. One, it's really cathartic to get it out on paper. And two, suddenly trusted ourselves and the answers come up.
And when you go back through it, it sounds like a lot of nonsense to start with, and then you really start recognizing the patterns.
Absolutely. And then, so I used to do that. I was journaling every day to start with. I don't do it every day now, but it's always a thing I go back to if I'm getting in a muddle, if I'm getting in a state, because of course I might be a coach, but I still need to sort things out.
We need our own coaches, right? We're still women going through our stuff. We might have answers to help other people or suggestions, but we also need somebody to ask us the questions, to hold us accountable.
Precisely. Again, it goes back to that sorting out the can of worms in our head. It's so hard to do it on your own. And so just have somebody there. So yes, I still have coaches and just people. So I still have to turn to these tools. I've got the tools, which is fabulous. Now I know where to turn to, which is fabulous. And that's what having a coach around you gives you the tools.
I agree. I agree. So thank you very much for this. Thank you for all the content and for this beautiful humanness that you share. And I think will make everybody think, yes, demystify and it all becomes all that scary beast that we don't talk about. This was a really beautiful, authentic, and can do and light. I mean, you're giving light and hope here as well. So then my question was, so thank you for the tips that people can put in straight here and there. Now, the coaching, do you do this online or do you do this in person just for people who are not in the UK?
Both. I do it in
Both. Oh,
person
that's
and
good.
online. To be honest, the majority of it is online.
It's online.
Yes, people from actually all around the world. So yeah, it's online.
And people could just reach out and then you decide it. Does it have to be like a 6-part program or can it just be a one-on-one? First, let's see, what is this all about?
I always offer a free discovery call. There's always a free
Okay.
call to start with because, like you said earlier, lots of coaches out there. Who's right for one person isn't going to be right for the next person.
Yeah. And vice versa, right? Also,
Precisely.
a coach might not be able to give the client what they're looking for, or because it's a totally different world or personality or whatsoever, in which case, that person would be better served by going on to someone else.
Absolutely. And I've had to do that before now, or
Yeah,
people have
yeah,
needed more
yeah,
than I can give them. They've
yeah.
needed a therapy or something else. So it's
Yes,
all
yes.
very honest conversation, but there's got to be a trust both ways that it's going to work because there's a lot of heart searching that goes on and it's not easy. It's not easy work for both parties because it's very emotional.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. So always a free discovery call. I then do have a 6-month program because to be honest, doing this sort of work, you can't really have answers in
Yeah,
one
yeah.
session. 6 months, but it's not every week. I do fortnightly because there's a lot going on. There's a lot to process. There's a
Yeah,
lot
and we
to
need the time to do the work in between, right?
precisely. We need to put things into practice and see how that works. So we do that. But if anybody's interested, I'm on the socials. I am Georgie Smith. Contact me, free chat, DMs if we just want to start having a conversation online to start with, a written chat to start with to see whether I vibe with you, whether I'm the right person for you. I have got something that I'd like to offer your listeners. If they want it, just get in touch with me on the social medias. 3 bold questions that might change everything for
Oh,
you. Just some really deep questions. I can send that out to anybody who asks me for it, and then we can have a chat about it. But absolutely, contact me on the socials.
thank you very much. All the details and the links will be in the show notes. For those of you watching this on YouTube, just remember I am Georgie Smith and go back to my podcast, my website, otherwise the Kennedy Connection, and you'll find the show notes under Georgie's episode. Georgie, I want to say a huge thank you to you for sharing your story, your energy, your warmth, and your professional knowledge and these tips that are accessible to everyone and this invitation to everyone. Wouldn't it be wonderful, a world of women going about saying, I am?
Oh,
Wouldn't it be
that is
lovely?
the dream, Julie. That
Yeah,
is the dream. Women
yeah.
being confident everywhere. And like you said earlier on, it's not about a macho, it's not about being better or anything like that. Is I am confident in who I am. I'm happy with who I am. I'm loving my life. So I am Georgie Smith.
Beautiful. I'm not going to add anything to that. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for
All
having me.
the best to all of you.